Today, in the media conference with Lal Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News गांव से, संवाद सरोकार न्यूज, भारत पोस्ट न्यूज, Caru News, Organ Donation India Foundation, and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. And today's topic is not only current, very relevant. And the topic is Omicron impact on colleges. But before I will go on the main topic, I would like to inform you that today India is celebrating Armed Forces Flag Day. The Armed Forces Flag Day or the Flag Day of India is a day dedicated to India towards collection of funds from people of India for the welfare of the Indian Armed Forces personnel. It has been observed annually in India on December 7 since 1949. Over the years, it has become a tradition to commemorate this day as an honor to the soldiers, sailors, and airmen of India. Immediately after India achieved independence, a need arose for the government to manage the welfare of its defense personnel. On August 20th, 1949, a committee set up under the defense minister decided to observe a flag day annually on December 7th. The idea behind observing a flag day was to distribute small flags to the general population and in return collect donations. Flag Day gains more significance as it considers that it is the responsibility of the civilian population of India to take care of the families and dependents of the armed forces personnel who fight for the country. Media conference with Lal Goel hopes that everyone should contribute for this noble cause on this day. Now, the other day, which is the world is celebrating International Civil Aviation Day. In 1996, the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed that 7th December was to be the International Civil Aviation Day. The day has been celebrated by the International Civil Aviation Organization since 7th December 1994, the 50th anniversary of the signing of the Convention on International Civil Aviation. The purpose of the day is to recognize the importance of aviation, especially international air travel, to the social and economic development of the world. The purpose of International Civil Aviation Day is to help generate and reinforce worldwide awareness of the importance of international civil aviation to the social and economic development of states and of the unique role of ICAO in helping states to cooperate and realize a truly global rapid transit network at the service of all mankind. Media conference with Lal Goel wishes everyone a very happy International Civil Aviation Day. Now coming to the main topic, Omicron impact on colleges. A college is an educational institution or a constituent part of one. A college may be a degree awarding territory, educational institution, a part of a collegiate or federal university, an institution offering vocational education or a secondary school. In most of the world, a college may be a high school or secondary school, a college of further education, a training institution that awards trade qualifications, a higher education provider that does not have university status, often without its own degree awarding powers, or a constituent power part of a university. In the United States, a college may offer undergraduate programs either as an independent institution or as the undergraduate program of a university, or it may be a residential college of a university or a community college, referring to primarily public higher education institutions that aim to provide affordable and accessible education, usually limited to 2-year associate degrees. The word is generally also used as a synonym for a university in the US. A college in some countries like France, Belgium, and Switzerland provides secondary education. However, the Collège de France is a prestigious advanced research institute in Paris. In India, the modern system of education was heavily influenced by the British starting in 1835. In India, the term college is commonly reserved for institutions that offer high school diploma at year 12, junior college, similar to American high schools, and those that offer the bachelor's degree. Some colleges, however, offer programs up to PhD level. Generally, colleges are located in different parts of a state, and all of them are affiliated to a regional university. The colleges offer programs leading to degree of that university. Colleges may be either autonomous or non-autonomous. Autonomous colleges are empowered to establish their own syllabus and conduct and assess their own examinations. In non-autonomous colleges, examinations are conducted by the university at the same time for all colleges under its affiliation. There are several hundred universities, and each university has affiliated colleges, often a large number. The first liberal art and science college in India was Kottayam College, or the Syrian College, Kerala, in 1815. The first interlinguistic residential education institution in Asia was started at this college. At present, it is a theological seminary which is popularly known as Orthodox Theological Seminary or Old Seminary. After that, CMS College, Kottayam, established in 1817, and the Presidency College, Kolkata, also 1817, initially known as Hindu College. The first college for the study of Christian theology and ecumenical inquiry was Sirampore College in 1818. The first missionary institution to impart Western style education in India was the Scottish Church College, Kolkata, in 1830. The first commerce and economics college in India was Sydenham College, Mumbai, in 1913. In India, a new term has been introduced, that is autonomous institutes and colleges. And autonomous colleges are colleges which need to be affiliated to a certain university. These colleges can conduct their own admission procedure, examination, syllabus, fees structure, etc. However, at the end of course completion, they cannot issue their own degree or diploma. The final degree or diploma is issued by the affiliated university. Also, some significant changes can pave way under the NEP, the National Education Policy 2020, which may affect the present guidelines for universities and colleges. India is having more than 45,000 colleges. The pandemic has created a situation where choosing an institute which can keep things on in spite of all odds ensures quality education in most effective manner while organizing different activities including workshops, industry certified, job oriented courses, guest talks, alumni talks, inter-institutional events, conferences, summits, cultural and club activities to provide opportunity for overall development of students. UNESCO estimates that over 1.5 billion students in 165 countries are out of school and colleges due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The pandemic has forced the global academic community to explore new ways of teaching and learning, including distance and online education. This has proven challenging for both students and the educators who must deal with the emotional, physical, and economic difficulties posed by the illness while doing their part to help curb the spread of the virus. The future is uncertain for everyone, particularly for millions of students scheduled to graduate this year who will face a world crippled economically by the pandemic. Crisis gives birth to new opportunities. COVID-19 is one of the biggest crises the human race saw in the recent past. It created a huge impact on every sphere of human life. It is possible to explain the positive and negative impacts of COVID-19. On one side, use of digital tools, virtual meetings, strengthening healthcare infrastructure, research for vaccine became possible due to COVID impact. And on another side, many small scale industries, small businessmen suffered huge losses. The education sector saw some fundamental changes during COVID-19. Online classes became norms for the last year. Many professionals used this time to reskill themselves. At the same time, universities and institutes of national importance started some innovative online degree courses. UGC guidelines of 2018 and National Education Policy helped universities with flexible online programs. COVID-19 crisis forced computer professionals to develop good quality virtual labs. These labs cannot replace physical labs but became very useful in online teaching. Professional courses like engineering and management became more relevant during COVID 19. It gave a new boost to science and technology. Fortunately, the government of India also used this time to promote Atmanirbhar Bharat, which fueled the demand for skilled manpower in the Indian market. However, it is also true that skill sets are changing very fast. The Omicron variant is a variant of SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19. It was first reported to the World Health Organization (WHO) from South Africa on 24th November 2021. On 26th November 2021, the WHO designated it as a variant of concern and named it after Omicron, the 15th letter in the Greek alphabet. The variant has an unusually large number of mutations, several of which are novel and a significant number of which affect the spike protein targeted by most COVID-19 vaccines at the time of discovering the Omicron variant. This level of variation has led to concerns regarding its transmissibility, immune system evasion, and vaccine resistance. As a result, the variant was quickly designated as being of concern, and travel restrictions were introduced by several countries in an attempt to slow its international spread. Panic has spread across the world after the discovery of the Omicron variant of coronavirus, which has been classified as a variant of concern by the World Health Organization (WHO). Top scientists recently issued a warning against the virus, transmissibility, citing its high transmissibility and low vaccine penetration across the globe. Many countries, including India, have been forced to revise travel guidelines in view of the new variant, which was discovered in South Africa. Some countries are even exploring the introduction of fresh curves as more cases surface across the globe. However, top experts believe that the new variant has spread extensively and it is just a matter of time before it is discovered in more countries. While scientists are trying to determine the impact of the highly muted variant of COVID-19, many organizations and experts are worried about how it will affect global trade and economic recovery. Failing to curb the spread of the new variant could lead to a massive spike in the number of global infections, leading to a higher hospitalizations in nations with low vaccine penetration. Leading economic think tank Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development (OECD) said Western governments could be forced to bring in fresh emergency financial support for business and households if the Omicron coronavirus variant triggers a severe global slowdown. With the threat of Omicron variant on the horizon, more parents are unlikely to send their children for in-person school and college, according to a survey. The survey conducted by local circles, which received 15,875 responses from across the country, revealed that a 14% drop in person attendance is expected this week, with another 5 to 10% drop once Omicron cases are reported in large number in India. The survey received response from parents residing in 308 districts from across India. In India, total number of higher education institutions are 51,649. Total number of teachers in higher education are 14.16 lakhs and students are 3.74 crores. Now to discuss this very, very important point, because right now picture is not clear, but we have already burnt our fingers in COVID-19 first wave and second wave. And especially in the second wave, the mortality was very high. So not to take any chance for the third wave, the country is taking steps very, very cautiously. And to discuss a very, very important aspect which relates with almost all the families in India, that is the Omicron impact on colleges. We have two very eminent personalities, panelists are with us. They are not only educators, but well qualified, experienced, and having full knowledge, and those who are authority in, in this particular subject, and that is Omicron impact on colleges. So I would like to invite my first panelist guest. He is Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran. Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran is the former visiting professor IIM Lucknow and University of Texas at Dallas, USA. He is the senior director of Don Bosco Group, Bangalore. He is the director of Eldo Private Limited, New Delhi. He has done his MBA from IIM Ahmedabad in 1980. He did PhD in 1986. He started teaching and researching business and entrepreneurship since 1984. He published research papers in reputed journals, international seminar proceedings, and chapters in books of readings. He started academic administration phase as dean in 1997, rising to executive director controlling management and engineering institutes in 2007. Her Highness Governor of Karnataka nominated Dr. Saran to the Senate of Bangalore University in recognition of his distinguished academic contributions. He was visiting professor to University of Texas at Dallas from 2012 to 2019. He also visited Washington State University and President University Indonesia on the invitation of the Dean Faculty of Business in 2018. He innovated and implemented a unique model to double the turnover with existing infrastructure in one accounting year. He is co-promoter of Institute of Family Business Management Society. He is honorary director of NCR Delhi-based high-tech B2B digital startup. He is also co-founder of OWGI Foundation, which promotes social entrepreneurship ventures. Welcome, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran on our show. Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, you being an educator associated with educational institutions previously and currently also. And we have seen, and everyone has seen, the last two waves, and especially the second wave was very fatal. And we have, although after the first wave, we all were taken the pandemic granted. Even the government declared at that time that everything is fine because of our good policies. But when the second wave struck, we have seen the shortage of oxygen, shortage of hospital beds, mortality, and it was very fatal. Now, both the times, the casualty was the colleges, because the education which was supposed to be imparted by the colleges was totally stand still, and then they started the online education, and the online, as you know, is not that successful, especially India, which could not succeed, and the education was not imparted with that quality education for which Indian education system is famous. And then the government of Union Government of India decided to promote all the students of 10th and 12th standard, and gradually other universities and the states have also promoted even in the college, or the even the graduates and postgraduate students without taking any examination. Now, the challenges this year were many, but again, when it was all seems to be normal, college started reopening, schools started reopening, all of a sudden, the last month, the last week of the month, the news came about Omicron. And people already have that much fear in their mind. And especially the young children, the parents, and even the college going students and the faculty. And many times it happens in last two waves that salaries of the faculties or the teachers were not paid either fully or even they paid partly. And nobody wanted to stop the education, and that's why everyone was very excited when everything was seems to be normal. But this Omicron again came. although it is premature because we are in a starting phase right now, but we have to be very, very careful. We have to see all the pros and cons about this variant. So we would like to know the Omicron impact on colleges. Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, please.
Thank you, Mr. Goel. It is a matter of great honor for me to be here with you on your conference. You are very right. Omicron and impact on colleges is a burning topic. It is not very established one, as we have noted. We don't have much information. There is a lot of uncertainty, which is what makes it all the more sinister. So I'm very obliged to you for choosing this topic and grateful to you for inviting me. I also know my co-panelist, Professor Pathak, is very deeply interested in academic well-being of the colleges. We have worked since 1984 together, and I'm sure he'll complement our discussion today. First and foremost, I think we must try to understand what will cause the impact on the colleges. There are three things which are critical. First of them is the timing. The second one is the nature of Omicron. And the third one is the scale at which it will appear or disappear. If we take these three things, timing, nature, and the scale, then we can see a few dimensions of the colleges for impact. You noted quite a few of them in your introduction. For example, the financial health of the colleges, that will definitely be impacted. What else will be impacted? Of course, we will take a look of the situation globally as well. We will not only see a particular town or a particular state of a particular country. We will first, I will like to emphasize that the Omicron's impact will be universal. No country will be left unimpacted. Colleges everywhere will be impacted. Different kind of colleges will be impacted differently, that for sure is, but it will be impacted. So the admissions will be impacted, attendance will be impacted, financials will be impacted, and quality of education will be impacted. So if we look at these three dimensions and four kind of things, we will get a complete picture about our answer that we are seeking today. What kind of impact on colleges will Omicron unleash? With this brief introduction, let us go to one of the primary factors. What is the timing going to do for us? People say that if you fall ill and you get proper care, you start recovering your health, and then chances are you will be able to achieve normal vitality with passage of time. God forbid, while you are recovering from the first disease, a second disease attacks you, or the same disease relapses. Typhoid, for example. It is bad when it happens first time. It is worse when it relapses. And God save if the relapse happens a third time. Medical experts will tell you, your experience will tell you, that the second relapse, even for a very healthy person, is bad. Here, the patient is the college. It suffered the first wave last year. It suffered the next wave this year. And when it was almost trying to take a sigh of relief, then last week, South Africa had its experts genome sequencing a variant which is puzzled everybody. Puzzled everybody because we thought after the first wave that vaccine has been found, and if we vaccinate ourselves, then we'll be protected. It was almost there. People were going for vaccines and hoping that the virus has been put in check. What we have found, it is little too early, but the nature of the Omicron as it is emerging is that it is not respecting the vaccine and immunity. It is crossing the immunization barrier. Whatever I have read, I have found that the virus is not stopped by the immunity of the body created by the vaccine. What is making the cases milder is puzzling to the medical fraternity. What they're saying, technically speaking, that there is second line of defense which our body provides, and that second line of defense is called T cells. So the nature of the Omicron is that it penetrates the vaccination barrier, but thank God, human body has a second line of defense, and that is protecting it. That we will have to see. Then the third thing is the scale. This is going to impact because of its contagious power, ability to infect almost anybody, everybody. It is going to be very widespread on a scale level. So, keeping these three things in mind, we will be able to assess what kind of scenario will be appearing before us. Coming to the more important question for us, let us first look at our own state, Karnataka. Though I am thousands miles away here, sitting here, I don't have all the latest information. I'm sitting here in California and talking to you. But I'm getting data on regular basis, morning, afternoon, evening, night, about the situation there. And the cases are exponentially increasing. The reported cases, first case appeared in Bangalore, two of them, and then many other places have reported. Mysuru is in its grips, and other cities are in its grips. Now, what is going to happen? These are the educational hubs of the Karnataka state. Most importantly, Karnataka took the lead in implementing the new education policy. New education policy has a unique feature in it. That is, the college admissions will be impacted not only once, but all the 4 years. Because the provision there is a student can join a college, complete a year, go out, exit, and then do whatever he pleases, comes back again either to the same institution or to another institution, complete second year, and so on and so forth for all the 4 years. This kind of NAP feature and the adapting to this one will be disrupted beyond measure. I am shivering to forecast. I'm very, very, apprehensive about making predictions. How adversely it will impact the healthy adaptation of the NAP. All the nice features will be absolutely, absolutely harder to practice and implement for no fault of anything other than this natural calamity that happens. So that is one dimension of impact on colleges. The good things of the NAP may remain on paper alone, and the practical difficulties will become mind-boggling. Then coming to the you know online classes, because the restrictions for medical practices for health reasons will be there. They cannot sacrifice at any cost public health, whether it is of the student or of their family members. It will be highly you know inadvisable that we play loose with the Omicron virus, because it is not fatal as of now. Why? Because the Omicron has been shown to impact mental health of the people, just like the previous versions did, Delta did, or other versions of COVID did. The physical impact was not the only dimension of the damage caused by it, including the death which you mentioned in the second wave. So, mental health at a young age, most importantly, the depression aspect of the mental health will be very, very concerning to me at this stage, because the physical classes will be impacted for sure. I have received the circular from the government of Karnataka, the original copy, 2 pages of it. And it says, point number 3 says that we cannot have, you know, unnecessary entertainment programs, programs which are like where social gathering is required, you know, anything other than pure academics has been asked to be avoided. Government has put a ban or restriction on that one. Now, these are the things where I think the young people, teenage people, will be finding themselves isolated, and isolation leads to a number of complications, depression being one. In normal cases, when our mood is down, we take solace in friends, but we are not having access to friends. Physical access is denied. And therefore, the online class will be having third time much more serious consequences, much more serious consequences. And it will be uneven because the first year students may be the highest impacted, and the final students may have acclimatized because they are 3 years older. They can absorb it. But that is again something which we don't know. Uncertainty is there. Whether the first year students will be the only isolated group or they will transmit it to others, who knows? So that is what is very scary with respect to impact of Omicron. And while we are about the online education being mandated sooner or later, if the Omicron is not contained very quickly, then you know what is going to happen is industry is going to be very skeptical about the quality of batches which pass out in these years. Already, in confidence, I can share with you the people who were very enthusiastic about me giving them good students for hiring are the people who are saying, unless it is an outstanding student, we will not consider them. The reason is they're very wary how to justify a student's achievement or potential given the fact that they did not appear for a standard examinations. They were promoted. There is, I will not name the organization, a widespread belief that there will not be employment opportunities, welcoming organizations because of this feature which academic institutions had to adopt, and that is getting promoted to the next semester or the next year, precisely because there were no way to have physical examinations, have no regular evaluation. So the colleges which have had the means to have or reputation to have internal evaluations, very robust ones. You mentioned there are autonomous colleges, there are constituent colleges, and there are independent institutions. Barring those ones, and there will be very few, you noted there are 45,000 colleges in India as of today, roughly, given and take 2,000. How many of them will be of the quality where this lack of examination, a standard system of examination, will be overcome? The employers will take them at face value. Now, can you imagine how much of interwoven complexities will be there? I can just briefly mention to you that One factor alone, mental health aspect of that one, was bad because of socializing of the students being not possible because physical classes are not there. Now, if the senior students are not getting placed, then they will be spreading more mood swings, more despondency will be there, more depression will be there. And we are talking about young people in the age bracket of 20 to 24. Do you realize a country which were saying our human resource is the dividend, is the capital? When that capital itself is broken, country like ours will have its spine attacked by Omicron. God save us. That is what we are staring at. That is what we are staring at. Such a such a critical situation because of compounding factors will be devastating for the economy, for the society, and for general well-being of the nation. You mentioned very correctly that international organizations are saying Omicron will slow down the recovery in the countries which were better off and delay the recovery or back to normalcy of weaker countries. God only will save us if the colleges are not able to cope. And I see very little as of now that there is for us to fall back on. Our reserves have been eroded by the first wave and second wave. We are, at our teether's end in coping with this one. So I think we should pray very hard and be very prudent in saving whatever we can save so that we can fight hardest, fight best, and bring our colleges to what they're supposed to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, for giving the detailed analysis of the impact of Omicron on colleges. And what Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, although he explained everything, but he said that because we have already suffered twice by the two waves of COVID 19, and both the waves have impacted very badly the education system and especially the colleges financially as well as the quality of education. And if the third wave will come, then definitely it will be a disaster for the colleges as well as the entire education system and the quality of education. And he further said it is not only the students or the colleges, but the industries who are looking uh, for the young graduates or the engineers. They are going not to going to recruit these students who have been passed during this time, because they are very clear that there was no examination taking place, so they don't know the standardization of those students. And online education, as I also mentioned, and which Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran also said, could not deliver the results which were anticipated earlier. So according to him, these are the factors. And one more factor which is very important is the mental health of the student, because the students require the entertainment, or whenever they have some tension for the peer or the friends association. But now the recently the Karnataka government has come out with a circular in which they restricted all the gatherings at the colleges and schools for which are for entertainment or cultural or whatsoever activities till the further order, at least for 2 months. So now the question is where the student will get that type of outlet of his mental recapture. So what he says, according to Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, if this wave will come, which is anticipating because it is happening everywhere, and as of now in United States also, almost a one third of the United States one third, Professor Saran, because you are in the states, you can tell us, or is it one third or how much?
Yes, in 13 states, they have
13,
found
13
confirmed
states
cases.
already they found the
So 13
Omicron
out of
virus.
50, yes.
Yeah,
Mm.
and in India also, many of the states, whether it's Karnataka, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, and other places, now they are getting the Omicron because it is taking time for the testing. It takes 5 to 7 days. So we are still, we have to wait what is going to happen. But according to Professor Saran, only thing is that if this will not be that severe, then we can save, because the colleges have already suffered lots of financial losses during this first and second waves. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, for giving detailed analysis about the impact on colleges. Now, I would like to invite my second panelist guest, and he is Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak. Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak is reputed international corporate trainer, public speaker, blogger, and columnist. He is the former professor and head of management studies IIT Dhanbad. He is postgraduate in psychology and an MBA with PhD in stress management from Banaras Hindu University. He is a reputed management and psychological consultant and is the founder of Kaizen Mantra, a training and consulting organization. He has also founded the Goodness Movement that aims to spread positivity through writings and lectures. His columns are published in leading newspapers and periodicals, and his blogs are read globally. He was also on faculty Institute of Management BHU. Having guided some 30 PhDs successfully, he has written several books and over 100 research articles in reputed journals. As a global lecturer, he has delivered talks at various international seminars, conferences, and workshops in several countries. Welcome, Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak, on our show.
Thank you.
Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak, you heard what Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran has mentioned. And he says that if because the factor is still if the Omicron virus impact the country, especially India, then the one of the biggest casualty will be the colleges. We would like to know your views on Omicron impact on colleges. Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak, please.
Thank you, Mr. Goel. First of all, I would like to greet all your viewers and, of course, my co-panelist, Sudhir Sharan from California. He rightly said we have been working together for the last several decades. I do share his concern, but not his fears. Because, see, I'd like to go back to the history. You know, around 100 years ago, we had a similar catastrophe striking the world. And the population of the world then was 2 billion. And 500 million, or one third of the world population, were affected, and 50 million had died, of which around 17 million only in India. Those days, we did not have as advanced medical system as we have today. We did not have those hospitals with sophisticated technology and well-educated doctors. And even vaccines were not as developed. There was no vaccination. In fact, penicillin was not discovered. Antibiotics were not discovered. And that was the time when the pandemic, it was, I think, similar sort of a virus which had struck the world, and we came out of that. Now, this time, when the population of the world is 7.5 billion, and the medical, development, development of medical science has come a long way, I think we can cope with. And one saving grace about Omicron is that it has spread in some 50 countries. Till yesterday, the news was that it has spread in some 50 countries without a single casualty till now. So that suggests one thing, that it is not going to be as deadly as the previous version of the Delta variant, which was so deadly in striking people and killing people. Now, number two, the what we call the speculations that are there are still unfounded. And of course, it may spread, but that way many things spread and then they affect us. But we are now much more prepared than what we were. We do learn from the past and prepare for the future. But one thing that concerns me is the kind of campaign that goes on about these pandemics. Like for instance, a very recent report says that future pandemics could be more lethal. I don't understand. Can it be more lethal than what happened in 1918? I doubt. All pandemics are equally lethal. There's no question of more or less. How do you decide that? So this is basically what I call some kind of a scaremongering thing, which should be avoided at all costs. And what Dr. Saran mentioned about mental health, because I've been a student of psychology for the last more than 47, 48 years. That is one thing that gets affected when you start campaigning fear. One thing which I noticed in the what I call the second wave of this corona pandemic was that there was a lot of fear and hopelessness all over. Fear and hopelessness. So why was that there? Because of that panic. We had unnecessarily pressed the panic button. I'm giving you this background because that is from where I'll take up to the issue of how it will affect the colleges. So that panic button was pressed and there was, scare all around and people were running helter-skelter. And I mean, you can well imagine what had happened. And then I thought of one strategy. I talked to because I keep on contributing to different newspapers and blogs, and I'm a public speaker also. Then I contacted a few of my journalist friends and I told them, look, what are you doing? They said that, sir, we are publishing news. I said, no, you are publishing half news. You are putting bold headlines in the red that 10 people died of corona. And then in small print, you are writing 200 survived. I said, just reverse that. So do some kind of I coined a new expression, headline management. It was the headline management that created more problems than the real corona. So mental health was terribly affected. We ran, in fact, I invited Professor Sharan also. We ran in the local channel some, around 70, 80 odd programs every day in the evening, and in which experts talk. Those who know were made to talk. What was happening before that? Everyone was talking except those who knew. So the glamorous, media-friendly and camera-friendly people were talking, and the knowledgeable were not talking. The microbiologists were not talking. The epidemiologists were not talking. The virologists were not talking. I made them talk. And then we could realize what actually was the scenario. And it worked here. In Dhanbad, it worked, definitely. And I guess it worked there everywhere also, because if people gradually could realize that fear is not the answer, hope is the answer. So taking it from there, now if the Omicron virus strikes in the way it is being feared, then of course we'll have to think of something more novel, something more imaginative. But I am dead sure it is not going to happen. It is not going to happen because, see, human nature and human body is a creation of God. And God has taken every care to ensure that we are able to cope with the threats and dangers that go on striking us. In fact, the most funny aspect of this entire virus thing is that, I have been a student of biology since 1969. In my 9th class, I read a book, a school course of biology by L.J.F. Brimble. And in that book, there's a chapter on virus. And interesting thing is that in that chapter, there are certain characteristics mentioned about virus. Interestingly, that is the most important knowledge that we still have today, nothing more than that. We still know only as much about the virus as we knew then. So it's going to be the natural resistance. Professor Sharan talked about the T cells and immunity and all those things. They are going to help us. Now, if the Omicron virus is affecting the vaccinated, my simple question is that does that mean that the vaccination is not working? And if it is not working, it is much ado about nothing. So I think we need to think scientifically. We need to think scientifically. Already there are projections that the third wave is going to strike in February and this and that. And I wonder only one thing, that why were these projections not there when the virus had not struck? Why were these projections not there in October 2019? Where were all these model builders, biostatistical model experts those days? So it's not as simple, and there's more to it than what meets the eye. So now coming to colleges, see, one thing is definitely going to happen, that if the noise is again raised to the same pitch that was there in the second wave, colleges will be badly hit. And more than colleges, the education will be hit. So what will happen? The first thing that's going to happen is that physical classes will stop. Already people are talking about hybrid model as being the model of the future. But in fact, there are some people who want not the hybrid model, they want virtual universities. Because that is how it helps many, many people. There are some vested interests here also. And we cannot ignore that. We cannot ignore that. So my point is that let us try and think why this noise, why this campaign is going on. There are these online providers, they have their own interests. Now see, if you look very closely, if you monitor very closely, you'll find a very interesting thing that has happened in the world. Number of billionaires has gone. And number of poor has also gone up. And the middle class is gradually, a very a small number is moving upwards, and the majority is moving downwards. So that is how it is going to happen if we are not able to think logically, think positively, and think scientifically. Yes, if the worst fears come true, then of course we are helpless. But they will not come true. And my humble submission is that we need to have hope, we need to have faith, and we need to move ahead, of course, with due precautions. That cannot be excused. Now, a strange thing is happening. We are not allowing classes to be held. We are not allowing seminars to be held. Go to any restaurant in Delhi, see what happens. People are waiting, and there is a huge crowd. Go to any airport. I only recently traveled from Delhi to Durgapur, and look at the crowd. They are jumping on one another. So now, is it not paradoxical? On the one hand, we are not allowing classes to be held, and on the other, we are allowing parties in the restaurant. Close all restaurants. So I think we have to think, rather we have to see the big picture. And if we see the big picture, we'll find that there is more to it than what meets the eye. So what is needed is that we need to have a very clear perspective about what we are going to do and how we are going to do. We must think of holding physical classes, because I have been a teacher for the last around 35 years. And in fact, there was a time when we used to praise and propagate online education. After teaching online for around 1 year, I came to realize just one truth, that online cannot be and will never be a substitute for physical classroom. No matter how big professors you invite on the YouTube or videos, it's not going to impact that. See, different kinds of arguments are being given. One argument is that you have the opportunity to get the best of the world. Now, why the best of the world only from one side of the globe? What about our best of the world? This has to be thought. And already videos are being circulated. And our universities are affected badly. And that also is a part of the strategy to affect our university, to affect our education system. Professor Saran mentioned about our new education policy. That will be affected. Because no policy can work if it is not implemented. And if the Omicron scare picks up the same frenzy it picked up in April, May 2021, I think the entire education will collapse. So we need to think on those lines. The basic thing that we need to understand is that we have to anyhow start operating physical classroom, even with a small number. Now, see what is going to happen if there are no examinations. If there are no examinations, how will we evaluate? Everyone will be equal. And that is what has happened. And as he rightly pointed out, what about the industry? How will they choose from a large number of students? Which is better, which is good, which is worse? So these things will happen. Then teachers as a group will be badly affected. Job losses will be there. Students will lose interest in classrooms. They already, I think, see, COVID gave a big disruption. And what happened? There were mental health issues, there were depression, there was lifestyle changes. And the health of the people was badly affected, both physical and mental. Depression is on the rise. ILO says that 1 out of every 2 youth has mental health issues. Suicide rates went up. So all these things have to be considered. See, man, all said and done, is a gregarious animal. He needs to interact, he needs to talk, and they affect their health. So we have to think of very carefully organizing physical classrooms, Omicron or no Omicron. We may go and take all the precautions. We may practice social distancing. We may teach in shifts. Those things have to be done. We cannot just stay put and say that, okay, Omicron has strikes, so close universities. No, that's not the answer. That is not the answer. We cannot allow the entire education system to collapse. So that has to be understood. And of course, vaccinations are there. So now if the vaccinations are working, then there is no problem. But many people still say that the vaccination is not working. And even the vaccinated are getting affected by Omicron. Then what happens? That means if there is no way out, let us face the challenge. It's a major challenge that nature has struck. We have come out of challenges in the past also. Let us face the challenge. I am a strong advocate of physical classrooms, and let us be very clear that physical classrooms have to go on. Knowledge cannot be delivered online. Information, of course, can be delivered online, but not knowledge. To disseminate knowledge, you need physical presence of a teacher, and you need interaction of the teacher in the classroom with the students. You need peer learning. Classrooms, the best thing which classrooms offer is peer learning. One student helps the other. Interactions are the best learning experience that we have. We grow and develop through interactions. That is the process of socialization. So we are killing the process of socialization. We are making asocial and subsequently leading to antisocial. That is what has happened. When we went for those lockdowns, look at the mental health scenario. So given all this, let us first examine the entire Omicron scenario. How is it going to shape up? I am very sure. And as trends suggest, Omicron is not going to be as deadly as it used to be. And second thing, if Omicron is not going to be as deadly as it used to be, let us continue with all the precautions. We should not be overexcited, of course. That is one problem that we all face. That the moment there is a slightest, easing of things, we become overexcited. So that partying has to be controlled to a great extent, and we must only travel and we must only do things if it is required. Unnecessary meetings, unnecessary parties should not be there. That's of course. So we should continue with precautions. We should continue with masks and social distances. We should continue with what we call hand sanitization. But we must remember that we must think of strategies to start physical classrooms. Otherwise, the entire education system will collapse. So that is my point.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak. And as per Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak, if the physical classes will not be there, then the entire education system will collapse. But what Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak has said, he said that so much hype is being created, and this is wrong, according to Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak, because what he says that as per the Omicron information which are coming is that it is not fatal. It is there, but it is not that deadly as was our Delta, the earlier, the wave 2. But he says because of that, the fear psychosis, the government is also overreacting fast by putting ban on the cultural activities or the studies, even the physical classes had been stopped or going to be stopped. So he says when there are so much crowd in the restaurants, when there is so much crowd on the airports, why the first casualties are the colleges? He is very clear. He says colleges should not be closed and online education proves to be a total failure. He says whatsoever the best faculty or the experts can teach online, they will not get the result what a classroom in-person education can impart, including the peer education, which he's emphasized. And he says this type of overhype creation will harm the education system very badly. And for that, he is very, very clear. He says we must go for the colleges. Otherwise, already these 2 years, the 2 waves have created lots of panic, lots of financial losses to the colleges. If God forbids, the third wave will come, and if the college is to be closed, then what is going to happen? According to the Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak, God saves the country. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak, for giving your very straight thoughts about the today's topic. Now my question goes to Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran. Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, you have heard what Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak said. He says it is not fatal, no mortality reported till now. He says we are not sure what is the role of vaccination also in one way, because whether it is working or not. What the one side of the expert says, because of the vaccination, there is no seriousness of this particular variant, that is Omicron, and that's why no casualty reported till now. Although it is too early, because I just received a flash. It says the first case in India, the doctor who was positive 7 days before, he is still positive after the 7 days testing. It means that the virus is working, although he is vaccinated, he is not serious, but the virus is there. Now, my question to you is, South Africa is vaccinated less. It's almost the same. You can say they have vaccinated about 44% of the population. Now, again, the question comes whether it's one dose or second dose. I think it is the total doses they are talking. So say about 20% or so is the complete vaccination. India, as per the data is available, that vaccination is going to be 41% on 31st December 2021 of the total population. Total population means even the children from the age of 5 years to 18 years we are talking. Okay, we are not talking of the adults because it has been proved and the vaccination are on abroad for the children from 5 to 18 years. Even they are going for booster dose. Now, if this is the situation when it is, although many countries, as Professor Pathak has mentioned, has already found this thing, but not serious, because other countries record is that they are far ahead as far as the vaccination is concerned. Like UK has already completed first vaccination to 90%, 80% to the second vaccination, means the complete vaccination, and their target is by 31st of January 2022, the booster dose to everyone. They are going ahead. Even the states, the United States, although there are many groups in the states or in Germany or Europe or and in India also, that those says no, we are not going to take the vaccination. Do you think this less vaccination will be the reason that we should have, must have the fear? Because if this Omicron struck India badly, because transmissibility, everybody is saying it is going to transmit very fast. If it will be, and with our own in medical infrastructure, which is having limited capacity, we have seen even the wave 2, what will be the conditions? And in that case, don't you think the colleges will be the maximum sufferer? Because this time, if it happens, God forbids, it should not, we don't want, but if it will happen, then the colleges will suffer the maximum or not? What you say? Because as per the reports, colleges are already on ventilators. Because forget about the government aided or government colleges, but private colleges, they have suffered a lot. And in India, the maximum education right now in UP, I can say the maximum number of colleges are above 85% are private. I'm sure the figures are almost similar or bit less out there. Then what will be the condition of the colleges? Professor Dr. Sudhir sir.
Let us calmly analyze the situation. I agree with Professor Pathak that we should be concerned, but we should not be fear mongering. I will like to, put before our viewers that I was only showing my high degree of concern. I wasn't advocating fear mongering. And I fully agree with him. He did organize a lot of good interactions personally, and I'm very grateful that he invited me. And we put before good quality information as experts rather than just media cooked half knowledge. Keeping this as a starting point for us, you see, as a private college or even government college, we have too many vulnerabilities. Regulators are waiting to find a scapegoat because, as you said, we have as a system not kept up with the required vaccination. We say that we have reached this number in absolute terms, but then our country is the second most populous in the world. This is no secret. So it is actually the proportion of the people vaccinated that matters. Our students come from a family system. India, despite being a nuclear modern situation, but it is not everywhere. In rural parts, or the colleges, most of your colleges in UP or anywhere else, have a students coming from those backgrounds. Let us be realistic. Let us be on ground. When those things happen, villages are also resource poor in terms of healthcare infrastructure. It's no secret. Access to healthcare is not there. So all those factors are there. So keeping all these things in mind, what is going to happen is, if I become one who is trying to assert himself as an educator and start giving physical classes, and God forbid, if one serious sickness happens, serious sickness means the student or the family member of the student has to be hospitalized and put into ICU. Even if that person is saved, It will kick up so much of bad public relation for me. My management will hound me out, and the system will hound my management out. We won't know how to cope with the backlash. So we have to be very defensive. Unfortunately, in our system, because vaccination per se is low, healthcare system is not accessible, and those limitations I don't control, I don't improve, I only utilize to make the most of it. So I hope we all see this point. Let us see. We have to be pragmatic. At the same time, we don't have to be such cowards that we don't take prudent actions. We don't have to let the fear paralyze our thinking. Let's stay thinking, but at the same time, let's not get into any kind of, you know, imprudent decisions and actions, because we have more enemies in the system than we have friends as educators and as students. God save us. Let us do our best.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran. Now, my question goes to Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak. Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak, you have you are a psychologist. You have studied so much about the psychology. Now, the question is, what is the psychological and social impacts on the students, and what can colleges do to help them to cope up with this new reality? Because last one from 2020 to 21, now, or now we are entering in 22, we have seen the psychological impact too much on the students, or college going students, for many reasons. One is they have seen some mortality at their family, their friends, their relatives, as well as no peer interaction. But now, when again, when they are in college and when they are seeing whether it will impact or not, that is a different story. But when they are reading in the media, or reading in the newspapers, or watching on TV, that such type of variant is coming again, do you think they will be able to concentrate on their studies, or they will have that psychological problem ki why should we bother for the studies? First we have to save our lives and the money and whatnot. What you say about this, Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak? Please unmute.
Mr. Goel, I think you have raised a very pertinent question that the students will be negatively influenced by the news and what we call in psychology availability bias. In fact, so there's a lot of negative news, people dying here, people dying there, people getting affected and things like that. They are going to be affected. So one thing is that the colleges must make sure that they are counseling their students properly and they are in touch with the students and bringing forward the right kind of experts to help students cope with the anxieties and cope with the stress. There are ways and means of coping with anxieties and stress. I've been doing a lot of training on this and I found that it works. See, what has happened is that we are suffering from anxiety because of uncertainties about the future. Now, in fact, in the primary classes, we were given a very popular phrase, little knowledge is dangerous. What I find is that these days, more knowledge has become more dangerous. And that has created more anxieties. In fact, we are suffering from a double whammy. On the one hand, we have all those anxieties in our mind. And on the other hand, we are lonely. If you share your feelings, if you share your concerns, you lighten up your burden. So that is why I suggested that that is how physical classrooms help. I did not say that you recklessly go for physical classes, not at all. But yes, some kind of a physical interaction is very important along with the hybrid model. So let us gradually move from the hybrid model to the physical model in a very slow pace. And we must at the same time continue with counseling and stress management training for the colleges, which is going to help their students build up that stress resilience that is so important these days. You know, why suicide rates went up? Because of simple frustration and fear that nothing is going to happen. So why should I live? Now, see, look at the fallacy. The fallacy is that a person loses his job and he thinks that he's not going to get a job. So he thinks that if he's going to die 10 days ahead, let him die today. Why? Let him wait and face the circumstance. So these kinds of issues are very important. And this is the kind of training, this is the kind of counseling that we need to give to our students, give to the young people who are very frustrated these days because of this scenario. So that is the answer to all this. You have to counsel them, you have to train them, you have to help them raise their, which in my research, we call them stress tolerance quotient. So we'll have to help them raise their STQ so that they can cope with it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak. Now, my question goes to Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran. Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, do you think the education is not at all on a priority list with our government? If, as Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak said, there are lots of rush on the heavy crowd on restaurants, airport, etc., etc. Anything happens, the first casualty will be the colleges. Close the colleges without giving any financial support to the colleges. Nobody is talking about the teachers, the faculties who are going to create a new the country. If the country has to sustain we have to give them the at least the financial support. We are talking of MSMEs, we are talking of big industries, we are talking of infrastructure. We are not closing the construction activities because it is going to impact our economy. But what about the colleges? What about the financial condition of colleges? What do you say about this, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran?
I think the myopia of the government is obvious, and the step motherly treatment is also obvious to the education institution. There is no doubt about it. It has always been there. It has been aggravated in the last 2 years. You are, right in surmising that education is the low priority item, if not the lowest priority item, and this has to change because of the reasons which we mentioned in our earlier discussion, both myself and Professor Pathak. We have to give due importance and respect to salvaging the good part of the education to the best of our ability for our kind of a country where human capital we thought is a dividend. No, it has been badly damaged by the three kind of COVID, normal COVID, Delta, and now Omicron. I fully agree with you that people in power have to change their attitude towards college education. Yes, it must change, and let this be the siren, warning siren for this to start. That way, it will become a blessing in disguise for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran. Now, my question goes to Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak. As per the National Education Policy 2020, the foreign universities are allowed to open their campuses in India. Now, once we are seeing the pity condition of colleges today, and this policy was declared during after the first wave that was declared somewhere on 30th of July 2020. It means it was already been discounted that okay, already the pandemic was there. But at this juncture, if the foreign universities will be allowed to open their campus, definitely with the money power what they have, because those universities, big universities, have not suffered that badly what our colleges have suffered here. The good quality of the educators, the teachers, the professor will be joining those universities. Then what will happen to the standard of the education in the colleges which are run right now, and everything will be going to those universities. Many of the top brains will go, and it will be like a brain drain in our own country. So don't you think it will be a negative part right now for allowing such type of universities campus in India? What you say about this, Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak?
No, I think that is rather too far-fetched at this stage. But yes, you have a point that if given our weakness for anything foreign, given our fancy for anything foreign, we seem to jump to one conclusion that anything foreign is good. The fact is not that. The truth is not that. So that is why I was, trying to emphasize that let us strengthen our own education system. And see, now one criteria for university ranking is number of foreign faculty. Strange. Why it should happen? See, if you don't say, if you ask, in fact, I have been experiencing this in many selection committees and many of those interviews, that there are people who jump with excitement whenever they say someone with a foreign degree, someone who has traveled abroad. I said, Bhaiya, if someone has traveled abroad, that doesn't make him intelligent. Anyone with a good fat purse can travel foreign countries 10 times a year. How does it affect his intelligence? So these are some misconceptions, some mythical facts mythical things in our mind that create confusion. The fact is that yes, there are good educators in foreign countries. There are good educators in India also, and we should not have any particular inbuilt bias against our own brains, and we should not have a favorable, bias for foreign brains. Let us weigh them. Let us evaluate them honestly, objectively, scientifically. Just because someone has traveled abroad doesn't make him a genius. I don't agree.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak. Now, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, what one suggestion you want to give to the government and advice to the parents or the students? One suggestion to the government and one advice to the parents or the thing about this Omicron or the conditions what we are facing right now.
My advice to government is take a holistic look at the college education and stop stepmotherly treatment. Be as supportive as you can. Reduce the regulations which are counterproductive. Keep only those regulations which are productive. This is advice to government. And to parents, we will say that remember that Professor Pathak noted restaurants are crowded, airports are crowded. Now, if your child has good hygiene, if the child is getting good nutrition, if your child is getting good emotional support from the family, then please provide all those three things to your child so that the child's hard life, a robbed youth, is restored to the maximum possible. We, as his teachers, will do that one. You do at family level also.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak, same thing. Suggestion to the government and advice to public, the parents.
Very simple. In just 3 words, facilitate, don't intimidate. That is my simple advice. Facilitate, don't intimidate. And there is a big difference between the two words.
And to the parents?
To the parents, have hope. Make your child read books. Make your child face the book rather than the Facebook.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak and Professor Dr. Sudhir. So today, viewers, you have seen two experts who are experts, well experienced persons. They have given their views very, very clearly. They says that this we have to be cautious, but we should not be under the impression now what is going to happen. So fear should not be there, but caution is required as far as this Omicron is concerned. But one thing is very, very clear. They says the government should support the colleges, not so much regulations, no intimidations, and the parents, the civil society also should consider that if the student will not go to the colleges, how they expect that their child will be going to be a good citizen in future, because you require a proper education, not just to wait that honorable prime minister will pass an order to promote everyone overnight. No, don't wait for that. It is not a healthy thing, and the child's future will be dark. It is not a happy situation, because if they will not get a good placement in industry, then what is the advantage that you are spending money on your student child? So better allow him to go to the college with all the 3 or 4 precautions which are there, like wearing mask, hand sanitization, and as well as the distancing, physical distancing. And when very rightly said, when they are crowding the restaurants, traveling, going here and there, why not go to the college which are ready to impart the education properly? Thank you very much. And today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Saroka News, Caru News, Bharat Post News, as well as it was shown live on YouTube and Facebook. And our endeavor is to bring to you every day a new topic in media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. And tomorrow is a youth conclave on social behavior. And our chief guest are Dr. Naveen Gupta. He is the director of Hindustan Institute of Management and Computer Studies, HIMCS, Sharda Groups of Institutions, Mathura, and Dr. Ruxana Hassan. She is a renowned psychologist, trainer, coach, motivational speaker, a special educator for early childhood education and development, Bangalore. So please tune in for media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran. Thank you very
Thank you.
much, Professor
Thank you very
Dr.
much.
Pramod Pathak, for joining and enlightening all of us, your views, your concerns, and your solutions. And thank you very much, all the viewers. And I'm sure all the viewers, especially those who are parents or those who are students, or even the faculty, the teachers, are quite enlightened with today's our program. So please tune in every day for media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Thank you, viewers. Thank you, all of you. Thank you.